Hey, soul sisters. Oh, so I'm feeling kind of funky in this moment, and it always helps me to talk through my funk, and then it just like magically lifts. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's share the funk, shall we? I have a little bit of a headache starting too. I think I really need to do some yoga. Hi, Amanda. Feeling funky. Are you feeling funky? So here's my morning. I signed up about a month ago to take this. You are? Okay. Well, then we are in good company, girl. I signed up to take this workshop from an institute that I like. It's called Mind Valley. I just like I like the email stuff they put out there, and their workshops look good and intriguing. And at the time I signed up for it, I was in a frame of mind where I was really looking to grow. Okay, just looking to grow. Amanda says, me too. I'm trying to push through cleaning the house. Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not touching that, girl. I support you in that pursuit, though. And you will feel amazing when your house is clean. That's how I'm going to support you. By helping you tap into the feeling that you're going to have when things are tidy and neat and clean and in their place, because that is just ease on the brain. It's ease on the brain. I can feel it. Okay. So I go through these phases where I start to look more heavily from the external for growth and support and, whatever. We all do this. This is not unique to me. We all go through waves of looking outside for our gurus. And every time I do that, I'm reminded of the guru within. Okay, so that's why I'm sharing this story, because it's like, oh yeah, right, I don't really need to keep looking. But at the time that I signed up for this workshop today that was in Weston, I was like, oh, that looks awesome. It did look awesome. Guess what the name of the workshop was? It was called Be Extraordinary. Check. Done, right? We're all extraordinary. So to become more extraordinary, or to tap more into our extraordinariness, extraordinarity, that's my new word, extraordinarity. So I signed up for it and I showed up for it. And the first little thing that happened was that I was driving on the road to get there, and it was like I had to take roads that were sort of like this complex of, there were hotels, I think, and like some vacation condo properties and other businesses. And so there were these big roads, but they were set off of a main road. And so there were a lot of trees, a lot of beautiful grass and beautiful greenery and trees on either side of the road, which meant a lot of animals. And I had to slow down a couple times for like a bird or a squirrel, because we have to be so aware of our driving and where we're at, and be scanning all the time, not just for other cars, but for critters and animals that sometimes make sudden decisions that we need to respond and react quickly to. So I slowed down on the highway for a bird, which flew away just in time. And then I slowed down on this side road for a squirrel that I saw. I just knew. I saw the squirrel off to the side, and I was like, he's going to try to cross the road. So I stayed very alert, and sure enough, he crossed the road. And when he crossed the road, I was like, oh gosh, because there was 2 lanes and there was somebody else in the lane next to me. And I just threw a prayer out there like, please slow down. And guess what? The person slowed down. So this squirrel safely crossed the road, and I felt so happy and relieved. And I looked over at the car next to me, hoping to catch their eye, to be like, yay, us, we saved the animal. And I remember it was a blue Subaru. And I didn't catch their eye, but I just made mental note of the car. And so I keep on driving, and I have this thought like, there might be more squirrels or whatever that try to cross this road. I'm going to have to stay really alert. And sure enough, within minutes, I saw another squirrel off to my right, sitting. You know how squirrels are so cute? By the way, squirrels were my mother's favorite animal in the whole world. She had squirrel figurines everywhere around the house. It used to drive my dad crazy. And when she was younger, there was a special squirrel in her neighborhood that she was very close with. So squirrels are special to me too, for that reason as well. So sitting there cute on the side of the road, and I slow down because I'm thinking, that one might try to cross here too. And sure enough, it does. And because I was looking and alert, and because I was slowing down already, it crossed in front of me quite safely. But that same car that had slowed down just moments ago for another squirrel didn't see this squirrel. And it just makes me cry, because I don't know why I have to be the observer of animals in transition. There's nothing, or people in transition. There's nothing that is more deeply sad and painful than that. So you see where this is going. The squirrel makes it in front of my car, but the other car doesn't see it and hits it. And I watched the whole thing, and I was like, and kept, so my car's still going. I look back in the rearview mirror, and I saw that the squirrel had tumbled underneath that car. And then when the car was out of the way, I saw that it was on the street, and it was I guess doing what is that called? When the spinal, it was just kind of twitching. Its whole body was twitching, its tail, its head was lifting up and coming back down. And I thought, oh my gosh, it is, maybe it's just stunned. And maybe if I can pick it up and move it off to the side, because there were pretty lakes nearby, if I can move it off the road, maybe it can come out of its stunnedness safely and just run away. Because it really did look like, from my rearview mirror, that it was alive, and it was trying to shake it off. It kept moving in that way. I don't know how to describe what I was seeing. So I pull over, and I get a reusable bag from the back of my trunk, and I'm praying, by the way. I'm so praying, because I'm asking God, please don't let it suffer. Please don't let it suffer. Please don't let it suffer. Can you just take this sweet being? If it's suffering, just take him. And, or if I can be of help, use me. But I just don't want it to be suffering. So I get my bag, and I walk over to the squirrel, and I see that it just passed. There's no breath. There's no life in its body. There's no movement anymore. There's blood coming from its mouth. There's blood on the street. And so there it is. That was the beginning of my workshop, or not the beginning of my workshop, but beginning of my travels to my workshop. And I was so upset, of course, and I was crying, and I'm like, do I still want to do this workshop? Now I'm in a really funky frame of mind. So I get my GPS takes me to the building that is listed as the workshop location. And long story short, they entered the wrong location address to all the participants. This is a very bad thing to do if you're hosting an event. I know that mistakes happen, and I've made big mistakes too. Yes, I know, Amanda, I am so open and I'm so sensitive, and the animal kingdom knows that. They know that. They have known that about me ever since I was a child. And that's why they've been talking to me and visiting me and communicating with me in their living forms and in their non-physical forms too. And what I asked as I witnessed that and was continuing on my journey was, why? Why did I just see that? What am I supposed to do with that? It wasn't like a whiny why, like, why me? It wasn't like that. It was like, how is this? How can I be of service here? I keep witnessing animals that are that have passed, that are in transition, that are leaving the earth plane, leaving their bodies. In fact, I found a baby bird laid on top of an old newspaper that was not mine on the side of my house, a dead baby bird. Just laying there, like somebody placed it there. It hadn't dropped from a nest perfectly onto this folded up neatly piece of newspaper. So they're coming to me in like these weird ways. And so I asked in my request, what do I need to know here? How am I even of benefit or of service if I couldn't help that squirrel? And what that being told me was, I'm just emotional and tired right now. I'm not apologizing. It's just a lot of moving energy. What that being told me was, I want you to see me. So no matter like the time frame that you see me and that you bear witness to my presence, to my aliveness, or to my deadness, in this case, both, I witness that being in its fully vibrant, alive state, and then literally seconds later, in its total not alive state. And the channeled message was, if we can be the witness to those in life and in passing, there's an exchange there. There is a generous offering there in the love that's being offered and exchanged. By the way, something really funny just happened. I just got a text from my daughter who's in Iceland right now. And she's so excited because she just said, I think we're having pizza tonight. And I'll tell you why that's a really big deal later. So somebody remind me that I told you all that, because I want to go back to my channeled message from the animals. But that makes me happy for her. Pizza will be a welcomed meal in Iceland. So anyhow, I felt it. I'm still going to sit with it some more. But it's not, I felt like that being was telling me it's not about whether or not you can save me. It's not about whether or not your actions can affect a change or shift in whatever is about to happen that is outside of my control. Because, of course, I had no control over what the other car did. I only had control over what my car did. But in the witnessing of this beautiful animal being hit by a car and dying, I can share it with you all. And it will heighten your awareness when you are out and about on your journeys, and you'll be on the outlook for, you'll be more careful too, just as I am. And in the actual moment of it happening, I am able to exchange loving energy with this being as he or she makes its transition and transmutation from physical to non-physical. And it also told me, it's like, don't stay sad in this, but do stay awake. And isn't that what the universe is calling forward from us right now? Stay awake is just very moving for me, because I want to stay awake. And as a highly sensitive being that's not afraid of my emotional energy or the power of emotions, I want to support others and help and guide others in the awakening that we are in right now. So it's big, it's huge, it's also small and tiny. It's in the everyday stuff. It's in the thoughts that we bring in. It's in the prayers that we offer. It's in the awareness that we hold. Christine says, yes, yes, yes. Preach it, sister. So there we go. So on to my workshop. Then I get to the workshop, which I told you the wrong address was put into the email. So I'm taken to the wrong place. That's very frustrating, irritating, aggravating because, yeah, Lisa, stay awake, right? Stay awake. By the time I finally found the location, which was not at all in the area that the address was, I was already like irritable. I was off center, I should say. I was a mix of emotion, just emotional energy, irritability, sadness, all sorts of things. In the workshop, I only stayed for half of it. And here's my message in all of that, y'all. When you guys sign up for an experience and it's not what you need, and you know that it's not what you need, it's okay to leave. And I'm saying this out loud because I was telling myself this, because there's a part of the brain that will say, well, maybe you should stay. Maybe the good part is coming. Maybe you are not giving this enough of a chance. Maybe you have to stay more open-minded. You talk to everybody else about being open-minded and you're not giving this a chance. So that was part of my self-talk when I was recognizing that this workshop was just not for me. It wasn't going to meet my needs. It wasn't at the place where I was at. I was hoping to add in a different way. I have a history of being disappointed by workshops because I come with unrealistic expectations. I've worked on that though, so I don't do that anymore. I didn't come with an expectation to this workshop necessarily. But given that I was led astray to the wrong building, given that there was no apology made for, my gosh, I'm so sorry I gave everybody the wrong address. Instead, it was turned around to be like, well, I'm so grateful that half of you all went to the wrong address because there was something very purposeful in that. And I don't know what that is, but I trust it was very purposeful. No, it wasn't. No, it was not purposeful. No, me going to the wrong place and half the other people, the only thing that really served to do was to make us feel aggravated and frustrated. I'll just speak for myself. There was not purposefulness in that. So let me see. Amanda says, yes, I had to leave a conference once and felt so guilty, but in retrospect, I just don't think it was in service. The energy that was there was really, really suffocating for me at that time. Lady friend, that's what it was. So suffocating. There's no accident that you just gave me that word, because the other things that didn't suit my needs in this conference were that the room that held 100 people was very cramped and very small. The tables were round. The speaker was at the front of the room. So you know what round tables means. Half the people are not facing the speaker. And guess what? Because I was led to the wrong address, I didn't get my choice of seats. I like to have my choice of seats. I feel my way energetically into just the right perfect spot for me, which means I can see what's going on. I can be close to the speaker if I want to be. And the only seat that was available was facing the opposite of the speaker and within a room that was very cramped, and the air conditioning wasn't working well enough for the 100 people whose body heat was in there. So it was stuffy and it was cramped and it was blah. Okay, blah. So that wasn't working for me. And I was trying to anticipate another 4 hours of blah and feeling stuffy and hot and irritable. And then just the fact that a formal apology wasn't made for getting us lost, and that it was trying to be turned into something that like the universe did. The universe didn't mess up the address. The human messed up the address. So the human needs to say, I am so sorry, guys. My bad. Terrible mistake to make, and I've learned from it, and I'm going to double check and drive myself to the location. I don't know. That's just what I would have said. But here's what else was going on in my mind. Since I teach workshops, I'm sorry, my dog is laying right by the phone tripod, and it's thundering out, so she's shivering, so the phone is like shaking. Poor doggy. So Lisa says, I love that. As soon as I hear should in my mental chatter, it rings alarm bells. It's a sign it's my fear, ego ruling the roost rather than my gut intuition. Amen. Exactly. So, what was I just saying? It was good. I was going in an important direction. I don't know. Okay. Let me think for a second, because I do want to get back on that track. I don't know. Can someone cue me? I got worried about my dog for a second. Oh, thank you, Amanda. Okay. So I teach workshops, as you guys know, and I have perfectionistic tendencies, as you guys know. I don't hide that part of myself that I have to work with and work on and work through. And so as I'm sitting here thinking about how much I want to leave this workshop and how much I want a refund for it, I'm also that other side of my brain that does the chatter. I'm on track, Amanda. Thank you so much. Was feeling like, well, maybe I should stay, because what if that was me that made that mistake and people were angry at me for getting them lost? And what if somebody didn't like my teaching, my workshop enough to say, I want a refund? And so I started to put myself in the place and the position of the person teaching. But that was a trick of my mind, because I, at some point, will very likely be in that position. There will be people who do not love what I am offering, who do not benefit perhaps from the workshops that I teach. I have been very lucky. I'm aware. I've been very fortunate that the people who come are right aligned for the work that I have to offer. Our synergy is there. I have gotten only phenomenal, unbelievable, fantastic reviews for my workshops. I've been lucky. I know that that's not always going to be the case. Around the corner, there might be somebody who hates it, who doesn't like my energy, who doesn't benefit from it. And so I was already placing myself, or my mind, my thoughts was placing me in the position of fear, like maybe don't speak out, don't take the stand you need to take for your own truth and integrity, because that could be you at some point and it would feel really bad. First of all, yes, it could be me. And yes, that will feel that'll be really hard for me when that happens. 2, it will be really important for me to experience that, because that's where growth comes from, is the discomfort. 3, even if I don't speak out, because it might be me someday that gets that negative feedback, that doesn't change the fact that it's still going to be me likely someday that gets that negative feedback from a workshop. So my withholding my truth does not benefit this woman, and it does not benefit me. And it doesn't make it less likely that someone's going to speak out if they don't like what I'm putting out there. So I worked all that through, and I left. I left the workshop. I came home. Tried to meditate, didn't have great success with it. I'll do it again later, but I'll do some yoga first. I wrote for a request. I emailed her directly and said, I would like a full refund for this workshop, and here's why. But before I wrote that, I thanked her. I said, I have an understanding and an appreciation of what it takes to put on something like this, the amount of time, energy, organization, etc. So thank you for doing that. And I would like a refund, and here's why. And then I outlined it. And I sent it. And so I feel really good, and I feel lighter, and I feel more relieved from having done that. And yeah, so there's that. So my daughter's in Iceland, and this was really hard for me. A couple days ago, I was at an appointment with my dad, a medical appointment for him, and he's been having a lot of health issues, which have been very difficult on my heart, because I love my dad so much and I don't want to see him suffer. And I was at an appointment with him where they were doing a certain test, and some big things were riding on this test. It was a diagnostic tool, but he really needed to pass it in order to get some immediate relief from something going on without expressing too much of his medical situation. So I was sitting in the waiting room, and I was looking at the Facebook postings that they post for the group that took this trip to Iceland. It's a school group it's not my daughter's school, but she was permitted to go because her cousin goes to this school, and they know my daughter at this school. So anyways, these kids are in Iceland right now having an amazing time, and the pictures are unbelievable. This place on earth is profoundly beautiful. And as I'm sitting in the waiting room, I see that the teacher who's leading this trip spoke or posted that they had accidentally purchased meat that had horses in it. It was a mixture of lamb, of cow, and of horse meat. And so I gasped, actually. I know that I'm guilty of speciesism. It's part of our culture in our society, where we view certain animals as okay to eat and other animals as, oh no, we would never eat those. In some countries they eat cats and dogs, and in our country, oh my God, we would never do that. And we have some kind of a standard set for what animals are okay to eat and what aren't. Well, I'll tell you, I'm in a place right now in my growth and journey where I am really questioning what I eat, what I buy, what I feed my family. And it's led me to really strive for more of a vegan diet. So no animal products, no animal proteins, etc. I'm not doing it with perfectionism. It's a journey. I'm just at a certain place in the journey. And I'm starting to really question my own speciesism, right? Like, why has it been okay for me for years to buy, ground turkey meat, but not cows? And I used to say this, guys, I can't even believe I used to say this. I used to say when I was younger, I don't eat anything that I consider to be pre-morbidly cute. Right? Talk about speciesism. That's like the definition. So as long as you're cute, if you're a cute animal, I won't participate in, a market that's whatever, slaughters and processes and makes you available for ingestion for humans. But if you're not cute, and at the time I considered turkeys not cute, then yeah, I'll go buy ground turkey. So needless to say, I'm really much further along in my exploring of that and my questioning of that, and my allowing myself to just be in that, kind of figure it out as I'm going along. So I read this thing about the horses, and I start to cry, and I realize that I can't cry fully because I'm in a crowded waiting room in a medical office in a hospital, and so I don't want to just bust out blubbering. But I'm so incredibly upset, and I'm sickened. I'm just sickened by this notion for a couple of reasons. One is that my daughter has vegan preferences. We started making that transition together a few months ago, and she had told me she feels so much better about her health, her body, her energy, her beingness when she has no animal products in her diet. She's told me this. And so we've talked about this. I did let the trip leaders know that those were her preferences, but I also let them know that if they had already planned all the menus out, that my daughter didn't want to stand out as one of those difficult to feed children. And this is such an interesting thing because I'm guilty of that too. I have in times past, when somebody with a lot of dietary either restrictions or preferences is coming over for dinner, I'm like, what do I feed them? What do I make for a vegan? What do I make for gluten-free? It can be like this. It can be whatever we make it. In the past, I've made it stressful. And I'm sorry that I've done that because it didn't help me. And we're at a time where recipes abound everywhere. You can find, there's endless sources and types of foods. We can make anything work. So I'm reading that and I'm not knowing what to do. I'm freaking out. In fact, I'm texting my own sister and I'm saying, what is going on? I cannot believe that so what happened was they said, oopsie, we accidentally bought sausage that had horse meat in it. But now that we bought it and the kids have already eaten it, we're going to buy, this is what the post said, we're going to go back and buy, just regular horse sausage for the kids that want to try it. And I was like, oh my gosh. First of all, that made no sense to me. Oops, we made a mistake and we bought a product that we didn't want to eat or ingest. But now that we've bought it and we've ingested it, we're going to go back and buy it. Here's the other thing. The person who wrote this is a horseback riding instructor. And so the irony was smacking me in the face of someone who loves horses, whose livelihood is horses, who teaches the love of horses. And now that she's in another country where the norms are a little bit different and the standards are a little more, I don't want to call them like standards, but yeah, where the norms are different, it's like, okay, now we're just going to do that. It's different. I could see doing that. I could see being open to, if you're going to go to the home of a villager or someone indigenous to the land that you're visiting, and they cook you a traditional meal that for them is an offering of love and generosity. I believe if you can do it, eat the meal, right? Like if you can, if it's not absolutely against your values or whatever, eat the meal, because I do believe that that's respectful. That's just my belief system. But that's not what we're talking about here. This trip is camping. And so they are going to the grocery store and they're picking out whatever they want to eat. It is not that they are judging or turning their nose up at somebody who's made them a lovely meal. It's that they're choosing that. And so this was the problem that I had with it, just in case you guys were wondering. Amanda says, one of my good friends has always been vegan, and she, over the past few years, has developed allergies to most nuts, grains, legumes, and many vegetables. Her doctor told her at this point she really needs to reconsider her decision to eat meat because she was losing vast amounts of weight. And she names the animal that she's eating when she eats meat and refuses to call it beef. For example, she says the cow, and this has been part of her ritual to honor the animal versus making it so easily feel like a product. Yeah, I know there's a big disconnect that our culture nurtures. In the truth is, if we saw what goes on in slaughterhouses, none of us would eat meat. I am so confident of that. If we saw the practices that go on in factory farming, we would say, oh my gosh, our hearts, no, we're not going to support that. And so I haven't seen it with my own eyes, but I have learned enough about it to say no for me, no more. Anyways, so yeah, so thank you, Amanda, for sharing that. But this was the issue that I was having, the total disconnection from what's true in one place and within your life in your own country to being in a different place and now being okay with it. And where I was stuck is, how do I manage this? How do I communicate that this is not okay with me without being that mom, right? Without being that difficult person, and making a choice to whatever it is, whether it's going vegetarian or going vegan or gluten-free or whatever it is, you kind of become that person who's difficult to feed, which is what I hate about it. And this has been some of my struggle within it, is I've been very hesitant to label myself any certain type of eater. One, because I don't like labels, and two, because I don't want to be hard to feed. If someone's cooking a meal for me or preparing something for me. So I sat with it for a while and I prayed on it and I asked for guidance. Please, how can I respond to this in a way that is in integrity and truth with myself, and advocating for my daughter, who, by the way, when I messaged her about it, I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that this happened, because she's been eating what they serve, for their meals. For goodness sakes, they're in Iceland hiking hours every day. The girl's not going to starve, and they haven't been making many vegetarian options for her. So, and I told her, do what feels good to you to do. Eat what feels good to you to eat. I sent her probably 10 pounds of vegan protein bars and vegan jerky, which actually tastes really good, by the way, before you guys turn your nose up at it. I've tasted them. They're yummy. So she would have options, but she still is going to need to eat, good hearty meals. So she had this meal. She ate what was horse meat, not knowing it, because they didn't know it until after the fact somehow. And she and I had this back and forth exchange where I was feeling really horrible that she had had that experience and I couldn't do anything about it. And so she and I are going back and forth, and I'm trying to, well, I didn't do a good job at encouraging her to make her own choices. Instead, I was very emotional about it, and I was saying, don't eat, any more of the meat that they serve you, because now it's not that they're just not going to be careful about it. Now they're actually going to go out looking for horse meat. First, I asked her, how do you feel about eating horses? And she said, it makes me sad. I don't like it. So that's when I said, then don't eat it, and don't eat the meat that they're getting, because you don't know what it's going to be, and they might know or they might not know, and whatever. And so I didn't do what I was hoping to do, which was just to empower her to make her own choices. But eventually I recognized the error of my ways. I came back around and said, Ladybug, I trust you. Make the choices that feel right to you at the time. Ask the questions if you need to ask the questions. I'm also going to put extra money in your account so that you can, when you are at the grocery store, make your own selections too. I don't care if it's junk food you want to fill up on, packaged stuff, whatever. Buy the stuff that is in keeping with what your body needs and what you want to eat. So I kind of found a way around it. Then I sent a message to the teacher, and I found a way to not blame her or shame her or express anger. I literally, it was divinely guided. I can't remember my exact wording, but I am so grateful that I got the right wording. And I told her, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to add some more money to this account. You guys can use it when you shop to buy, things that are non-meat options. And I didn't say anything about horses. I didn't say anything about how I felt about it. I didn't respond to any of that or react. I just offered what to me felt like a good supportive solution without identifying the fact that there was a problem. It was holy. It was holy. I was so grateful for that. So, sisters, that is my check-in. 2 takeaways for you. 1, if you find yourself engaged in an experience that does not serve you and does not feel like it's serving your highest good and it doesn't feel good, go. Get out. You don't need permission to leave. No matter what your ego mind is telling you, go ahead and follow your gut and leave. I'm so glad I left that workshop. So glad. Second takeaway is, if something is happening that feels so horrible inside, like learning that your daughter's been fed horses for a meal and knowing that she does not want to eat horses and knowing that she does not know that she did eat that, find your way to peace. Find your prayerful state. By the way, when I talk about prayer, I'm only talking about your conversation with divine energy. It does not mean you're asking for something. It does not mean you're begging for something. It is your conversation with divine energy. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about prayer. Get to your centered place and allow it to be guided and supported. Okay, love you all so much.